Hey guys, my name is Serena, and I think I might have just finished my first year at Waterloo CS. For some context, I was choosing between Waterloo CS, Waterloo CS BBA, U of T CS, Western Ivy plus CS, Western Ivy plus SE, and recently Berkeley 2. I ultimately decided to roll with Waterloo CS. I'm still not sure if that's the right choice for me, but I do have some good things and bad things to say about Waterloo, things I don't like and things I like. That you could factor into your consideration when deciding schools. I just hope that this is somewhat informative or informational to you, but obviously it's from my opinion and take what I say with a grain of salt because it's all very subjective. Anyways, so let's get on to the video. Okay, so first, let's start with the benefits. One reason why you might want to consider Waterloo is that you realize that maybe you want to go to the US after grad, then Waterloo might be a nice feeder into the States. When I was making my decision, I looked at the class of 2021 software engineering class profile, and around 80% of graduates went to the US for jobs. This is mostly because the Silicon Valley is located in California, which is in the States. So once people in Waterloo get really good, a lot of them choose to pursue higher paying jobs or just better opportunities that are in Cali or Seattle or somewhere in the States. The second reason I'm about to give for why Waterloo CS could be a good choice is probably many people's first reason why they chose Waterloo CS, and that is money. Like, there's no shame in admitting that you like money, I like money, they like money, everyone loves money. But can you actually get a lot of money if you go to Waterloo Computer Science? I think we can break this down into two aspects. One is when you're actually in school, and the second is after you graduate. So if we look at after you graduate, according to the software engineering class profile, the average total comp for first year SE grad is around $300,000 a year. But that includes stocks, that includes bonuses, and it's so high because most people took jobs in the States. Like I said, it was around 80% plus. So you can probably make a lot of money if tech is still booming and if you're not graduating in a recession. And how much money can you make when you're in school? So here is a co-op average earning chart of 6 co-ops, 4 months each. This YouTuber made a video, and basically you can probably graduate debt-free or with very little debt. A third point why you might consider going to Waterloo is you like boys. There are many boys in Waterloo. In fact, boys make up most of the population in Waterloo. So if you're looking to get into boys, then Waterloo is a place for you. Another benefit of going to Waterloo is its reputation. And I don't just mean reputation in Canada, but in the entire North America, especially in the tech industry. Like, I was talking to some engineers who worked in the States and even some VCs. Like, they all knew Waterloo. They were like, yeah, we have a lot of Waterloo people in our company, legit engineers. And the VCs even said, yeah, Waterloo's curriculum is very rigorous, so the people who come out of Waterloo are super legit. However, I'm not sure if people outside the tech industry know what Waterloo is, but people who are in the tech industry definitely know Waterloo. Another benefit that might not be particularly enjoyable is the rigor in Waterloo CS and math curriculum. Like, I didn't realize school could be this hard until I came to Waterloo. It's probably also really hard at U of T, but I had friends who transferred into Waterloo CS and they said that their school's curriculum was really easy compared to Waterloo's computer science and math curriculum if you take the standard or even the harder levels. So I think Waterloo does a really good job at building you a solid foundation for computer science, engineering, or math. My last point is that people here in Waterloo are really, really smart. And this smart is mostly academically. People are very intelligent, hardworking, studious. Like, if you go to the library, the DC library on a random day, probably 80% of the seats are full, and during exam season, I literally have to circle around for 5 to 10 minutes to find a seat. So if you like the studious or nerdy environment, you enjoy how people are academically tryhards, then Waterloo might be a good place. Okay, that's enough simping. I finally get to talk about the dropbacks, and oh boy, do I have a lot to say on this one. The predominant culture here is big tech culture. When I heard big tech culture, I thought there was a big tech culture, but I was wrong. It was a big tech culture, not big tech culture. So that means a lot of people here simp for FANG. And if you like those big companies and it's your career goal to get into those big tech companies, then you're probably fine. But if your values diverge from this big tech culture, then you might not integrate into the predominant culture in Waterloo. Like, of course, you'll find your niche in your group, but the overall environment might make you feel uncomfortable in some ways, because that's how I felt when I went to Waterloo. It felt like people had the same uniform expectations and measure for success, which is which big tech company you work for. But if you don't want to measure your self-worth with that, you might find yourself in trouble, because if you're in co-op, you have to basically climb like the corporate ladder to bigger and bigger companies, or if you decide to do startups, people will probably look at you weird, and that could be a lot of pressure. So in my opinion, the big tech culture made me feel slightly uncomfortable while I was in Waterloo. My next point is that Waterloo feels like a commuter school, but more like people commute between Waterloo and the States. I feel like a lot of people here, when they get talented, they just leave. So no real talent actually gets retained in Waterloo unless they like really want to stay close by family or some personal reasons. But many people, like, they just go to the States. So sometimes you don't see your friends because like they're somewhere else on co-op term and you're just here studying. Like, Waterloo feels like an incubator that breeds talent and breeds your skills until you're ready, and then they send you off to feed into the States. So it doesn't feel like there's a very strong community here that's like always centered in Waterloo, because they're always flying back. Waterloo is too academic. Like, people see people and they're like, wow, these nerds, they're so nerdy. All they do is study all day, watch anime, and play League. Like, to some extent, that's pretty true. People do focus a lot on academics, and probably many people have no lives outside of that. And if you don't like that, that's a con. Like, personally, I like diversity, so that is sometimes like a turnoff for me as well. One thing that I find super annoying is how a lot of people here just downplay their efforts. Like, when you ask them, oh, did you study? They're gonna be like, no, I didn't study at all, when they in reality studied more than 7 hours yesterday or something. And then they will say something like, oh no, I failed the test, when they got like 80 plus, 90 plus, which is really good for university. And I just personally find that annoying. Like, I value authenticity. I don't know why that's a thing here, but apparently it is, so. One reason not to go to Waterloo is if you like girls. There are little girls here. There are a few girls here. So if you like girls, you might have trouble finding girls, as you would have trouble finding co-op. So that might be something to think about. Another one of my complaints might just be a me thing, like everything else in this video, but it's that I feel like after going to Waterloo, I was starting to lose my mind. And that's not like, oh my god, there's so much work to do, but more in a sense of I stopped generating new ideas, new thoughts, new opinions, because all my day-to-day was filled with STEM classes, talking to people about STEM classes, talking to people about League and anime. Like, there was nothing deep about it that fostered your critical thinking or personal growth. People usually have this general notion that humanities courses are useless. Like, they say literature course is useless, philosophy course is useless, sociology is useless, gender studies is useless, your major is useless, you're useless. And usefulness here seems to be measured by how much more money going to this course will bring you in your co-op. And I don't think that's a really holistic way to look at education, because for me at least, the reason I come to university is not to just gain skills and be employable, whatever that means, but to grow as a person, develop who I am, develop my mind. And I wasn't gaining that through Waterloo. So do I recommend you go to Waterloo Computer Science? Doesn't matter if you got in or not, but like, should you simp for it? Should you go to it? That's the real question, right? And in my mind, the answer is yes for a few groups of people. I feel like you should go if you've settled on doing CS for a career. Like, if you've been coding and you really like coding, you think you'll do this because you've had a previous exposure and you're pretty settled, then yeah, go ahead. Waterloo's a CS and STEM school. It will probably really help you in that direction if you've settled on it. So for people who know they want to do computer science, yeah, do it. For the second type of people is people who know that what you're looking for in a career is stability and high income. Like, a tech job would guarantee you, basically. Like, if that's your aim, that's your values, then go for it. Like Waterloo basically feeds you into that if you do well enough. Yeah, that's good for you. But for people who are undecided, like you're in grade 12 or grade 11 or even younger, I don't know, but if you're in that stage of life where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm trying to explore, I got in this prestigious program, or I want to get into this prestigious program, I don't know if I should go to it, if I actually get in, I actually don't recommend you go, because what's going to happen is that if you realize you don't like CS, there's not a lot of wiggle room to things you can switch to, because basically everything at Waterloo, like all the good stuff are STEM. Maybe like go to U of T or something. Not really Waterloo, because it's like narrow, and you want to like have options for yourself. If you're not decided on computer science or STEM, I don't generally recommend you to go to Waterloo, because you don't have a lot of options if you decide not to pursue that path. Waterloo is known for STEM, so what would you switch to if you decided against CS? And another group of people who I don't recommend Waterloo to are people who are like more risk-taking, have more ideas, like want to explore. Maybe you're into CS, you know you want to do CS, but this is just not vibing with you, then probably not go to Waterloo CS. Like go to some other school who's going to foster your creativity way better than Waterloo. I would recommend like a US school if you can burn through your parents' money fast, and if your family can afford it, like it's probably better. Honestly, Waterloo CS might be prestigious, but I don't think it's good for everyone, and you have to be a fool to just see like a prestigious program accept you and just go.